a try. Give it a try. Are you up? Did you come home hungry? What bean? Just do a small bowl.
A small bowl. Okay, fork.
Yeah.
So
Cut up the sausage and put it in there. I was gonna cut it up, but I was hungry, so I decided to go ahead and just eat. It's hot. All that bean juice. That food is good. I can see your face like, that's good.
it's not based on making.
It's not.
It's not bad,
See?
but it's not what I was expecting.
Well, expectations are often left unmet when you place them a little too high.
I wouldn't even say they were pretty high.
They were low, and it didn't meet. Well,
These beans.
the beans are good.
Yeah, on their own was a penny cabbage.
Just eat it. Just eat. Oh, let me grab my other. Kimber said, I'll eat it if you don't want it. My son's like, I made beans and cabbage for dinner. And he's like, why would you put the cabbage in the beans or the beans in the cabbage? I thought it tastes good. I thought it tasted good. I took my dog running. Oh my gosh, he had such a good time. Not like running. I took him out to play in one of the little areas. I love cabbage too. I had seen a recipe on TikTok for beans in the cabbage, and I was like, that might not be good, but I'm gonna try it anyway. She opened up 5 different types of beans, but didn't tell you which types. So I picked pinto beans, garbanzo beans, kidney beans, black beans, and white beans. And I didn't dump like all the can in there because that would have just been too much. But I did like half a can of each and then save the rest of the beans. Hold on, I'm trying to set up the live for TikTok. Oh, I haven't had baked beans in a really long time. Those are actually really good. I think he's still questioning the beans and the cabbage. We are going to do chapter 6 of the book that we had already started, Mother Hunger. I think everybody's been liking that book, so we're going to go ahead and read chapter 6 so that we can finish it. Because I had to take a little bit of time off. Oh my gosh, you guys, the bullying was incessant. And then people were like, oh no, it's not considered bullying because you treated that dog like shit. So you deserve to be treated like shit. And I'm like, regardless of what you think I did, that doesn't give you a right to verbally abuse me online and then make fake reviews about my business. Oh my God. I didn't see it. Where did you find it at? I was looking in Amazon books and I didn't see it there. I want to make sure that we're hold
protection.
on. Let me make sure that we're on the chapter that we need to be on.
Frightened women make insecure mothers who sometimes fail to protect their children.
How come I can't see where we are? No. Hold on.
This isn't a matter of love. Mothers may fiercely love their babies and children and still be unable to protect them.
It doesn't
I
tell
see
me
these
what chapter
patterns
we're
a
on.
lot in everyday life
Can you
as
hear
mothers
it?
try to raise their daughters. Some mothers are overly protective and daughters miss out on developmentally suitable experiences. On the other hand, some mothers are so permissive that daughters face adult challenges before they're ready. The right balance is mysterious, and it's complicated by unhealed trauma that follows a woman into motherhood. Unaware of her own psychological wounds, a mother may miss the cues that she is in danger, and so are her children. Or it seems that danger is around every corner, leaving both mother and daughter on edge.
Okay.
Either way, daughters struggle when they can't count on their mothers for safety and protection. Early lessons in safety and security between mother and daughter may not be measurable or visible, but they are powerful. Beginning with pregnancy, scientists are learning maternal anxiety, stress, and fear can be passed on to a baby in utero, specifically in the last trimester. Additionally, a mother's unrepaired emotional scars from her own upbringing adversely impact her maternal instincts. Maternal stress and anxiety pass insecurity to a daughter through touch, vocal tones, and breathing patterns, and later through behaviors and choices that put both mother and daughter in harm's way. To illustrate the concept of maternal protection and how it can go wrong, it's helpful to look at extremes so that we might notice more commonplace examples that happened in our
Kimber,
own
come sit
upbringing.
down.
For this reason, I will focus on the Netflix series Dirty John, based on a true life
I didn't
story
see that.
and original podcast.
Did y'all watch that movie,
You
Dirty
might find it
John?
helpful to watch or listen to the series to gain a full understanding of the dynamics at play.
I colored this one the other day. Well, I was watching a movie called The 13th Floor. I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's so interesting. That movie was so interesting. If you've never seen it, it is a pretty good watch. Okay, let me.
Case of Dirty John. In the Netflix adaptation of the true crime podcast Dirty John, we have a brilliant but dark illustration of what happens when mothers cannot protect themselves or their daughters.
Dirty
The
John,
miniseries
yeah.
illustrates how intergenerational transmission of
I've
misogyny
never watched it.
can leave women unsafe and vulnerable. Misogyny is not just overt hatred of women, but also, according to the Cambridge Dictionary, the belief that men are better than women. In this true life story, we see firsthand
Kimber, come sit down.
the legacy of damaging double standards that prioritize men over women, and how women participate in and perpetuate this unfortunate system. 3 generations are impacted by systemic misogyny transmitted with the help of Judeo-Christian ideology. The intergenerational transmission begins with Arlene, who is the wife of a pastor. In a poignant, painful scene, Arlene quotes scripture to her grown daughter, Cindy, to encourage her to stay in an unhappy marriage. Like most grown daughters, Cindy wants her mother's support. She's considering divorce, which is daunting as a Christian woman. Life transitions that don't have cultural support are hard, and maternal love makes things easier. Cindy listens as Arlene quotes scripture advising her to stay in her marriage to Billy. Cindy ignores her own intuition in order to please her mother and be a good Christian daughter. But soon after, in a chilling display of calculated malice, Billy murders Cindy. Although Billy goes to jail for manslaughter, he is released after only 3 years based on Arlene's testimony that, quote, I know he loved my daughter.
Oh my God. But he
While
killed her.
compassion and forgiveness are admirable, something in Arlene's twisted tolerance for her son-in-law doesn't sit well. As the story unfolds, we see how Arlene's guidance is a tragic display of systemic misogyny that overrides the protective maternal instinct. Arlene and Cindy are backdrops to the main character in Netflix's dramatized series, Deborah Newell, played by Connie Britton. Deborah is a 59-year-old woman who is successful in business, but chronically disappointed in love. Deborah, like her sister Cindy, is a magnet for dangerous men. As the story begins, we witness Deborah being easily seduced by John Meehan, played by Eric Bana. Deborah has been married and divorced 4 times, yet her track record doesn't seem to slow her down when she starts online dating and finds John. John quickly works his way into her life. The audience can see John's predatory strategy through the concerned eyes of Deborah's grown daughters.
Cheryl Katie, that's the author.
Within weeks, Deborah secretly marries John despite her daughter's protests. And their relationship shows hallmark symptoms of love addiction.
Love addiction.
Love addiction, like any other addiction, follows certain criteria that indicate when a habit has become a compulsion. Number 1, continuing behavior or substance abuse despite negative consequences. Deborah is unable to stop seeing John despite uncovering his lies and experiencing loss of closeness with her daughters. Number 2, trying to stop a behavior or substance use without success. Deborah tries to stop seeing John after discovering his
I think it's just me and you tonight, Linda.
As her obsession grows, she is increasingly unable to care for herself and lies to her daughters, putting them in grave danger. Number 3, craving and withdrawal when trying to stop a behavior or substance use. Deborah breaks up with John after first learning about his deception, his drug addiction, and history of deceiving other women. However, she can't tolerate the separation and reestablishes contact with him. Number 4, keeping the behavior or substance a secret. Deborah lies about her relationship with John from the very beginning. She lies about how fast things are moving, how much access she is giving him to her personal life, and how much of her finances are compromised. She hides getting married.
Okay, I'll look.
She hides these details from her family so that she can be with John. 5, isolating from friends and family to protect the relationship. Deborah has no female friends, and she withdraws from family relationships as she prioritizes John. Despite Deborah's prior divorces, neither she nor her mother, Arlene, seem cautious when John quickly becomes part of daily life and holiday traditions. Both mother and daughter show no ability or inclination to slow down and get to know him before including him in family life.
Mm-hmm.
They are seduced by his charm.
Most
But Deborah's
people
daughters are not. The eldest, Ronnie, is clearly haunted by her mother's 4 previous marriages. Her rage is overt. She keeps a large metal safe in her closet where she protects her valuables, and she shuns her mother's new romance with John.
I would too.
Ronnie,
4 marriages? Like, come on
unapologetic in
now.
her defensive posture, is the protector. She has adopted the parental role that her mother has abandoned. Deborah's youngest daughter, Tara, is disturbed by the relationship but shows her fear in very different ways from her older sister. Unlike Ronnie, Tara tries to appease her mother. She pleads with Deborah not to allow John to play with the younger cousins during the upcoming Christmas gathering, tearfully explaining that it's not fair for kids to get attached to a man who won't stay.
Yeah, I agree.
Tara
agree
can't
with
directly
that.
ask her mother to stop seeing John like Ronnie can, so she tries to appeal to her mother's heart. In her tender, utterly reasonable request, we see Tara's heartache. She knows the pain of repetitive loss. We wonder what it's been like for her to bond with each previous stepfather, only to have him leave, or to wait behind a new man to have her mother's attention. She wants her mother to understand, to protect her and the children from further unnecessary loss, but her pleas are futile. The role of mother as protector is so misunderstood that even professional intervention misses Tara's desperation.
Oh, don't worry, Linda.
The therapist fails to hold Deborah accountable, and ultimately, Deborah's love addiction wins. She disregards Tara's request and allows John to make dramatic gestures with Christmas gifts for the small cousins. Watching the scene, we know this isn't the first time she's turned a blind eye to her daughter's needs to meet her own. Sometimes women compensate for misogyny by behaving like those in power. They offend someone more vulnerable. In the case of Dirty John, Deborah's disregard for Tara's simple request is an example of how this may happen. Deborah ignores her daughter's plea for protection. Instead of listening and considering her daughter's needs, Deborah puts her own desires before her daughter's well-being. Shamelessly, she allows John to shower the young cousins with toys and affection. And when Tara has an emotional reaction to her mother's poor choice, Deborah gets angry and hurt. She feels victimized by her daughter's behavior and goes so far as to apologize to John for her daughter's rudeness.
Yeah, but she was in the right.
But the true victim in this holiday moment is
It's the
Tara,
kids and
who's
Tara.
alone, crying in a back room, trying to make sense of things by herself. To make matters worse, Arlene tries to smooth things over by cajoling Tara to rejoin the holiday gathering instead of listening to her concerns or asking John to leave. Both mother and grandmother prioritize John over Tara, sending the clear message that his needs are more important than hers. More than anything, Tara wants to please her mother, so she wipes her tears, blows her nose, and returns to the party. To have her mother's love, she sacrifices her intuition and her needs. Ultimately, in an unthinkable turn of events, she almost sacrifices her life. John tries to kill her. Watching this story come to life is horrifying on so many levels, and I couldn't help but think of Cindy dying at the hands of her husband while witnessing Tara fighting for her life. Deborah's failure to protect Tara might seem like an extreme form of neglect, but it highlights the generational nature of women unable to protect each other from systemic sexism. This is how mother hunger happens. Sisters with mother hunger. When a mother is unable to protect her daughters, not only do siblings miss out on maternal protection, but their personality adaptations also make them competitors for whatever love is available. Unprotected children grow up guarding themselves and fighting for attention. As a result, when siblings most need an ally, they frequently end up with an enemy, or at very least, a difficult relationship laced with competition and resentment.
Mm.
In the case of Dirty John, we see how, without maternal protection, daughters adapt by taking care of themselves the best they can. Ronnie and Tara, each fierce in her own way, make extraordinary efforts to preserve a connection with their mother. Ronnie hires an investigator to save her from John, and Tara tirelessly turns to Deborah for comfort and understanding. As they each strive for maternal love, their relationship with each other becomes tenuous. I've seen this pattern of sibling tension over and over again in cases of mother hunger. Many sisters become adversaries as they individually survive a mother who acts like a child. When siblings strive to survive, they don't play. They rarely relax. One becomes parental, the other stays young. Siblings take on roles like peacemaker or comedian. Sometimes children just hide from the chaos, quietly retreating into themselves. While the Netflix drama adeptly illustrates Deborah's inability to protect herself and her daughters, reviewers miss the point and miss an opportunity to educate. Perpetuating the idea that children are bad when they are defiant or oppositional, Heather Schwedel in Slate's Culture newsletter refers to Tara and Ronnie as full of sass and lazy. Schwedel grossly minimizes the emotional struggle that Tara and Ronnie have endured. Using disparaging language, Schwedel's description perpetuates the cultural habit of victim blaming. Her assertions that the sisters are, quote, bratty adolescents completely overlooks the reason why these girls behave the way they do. They are afraid. A new man with their mother is a threat. They know without really knowing that they are in danger because their mother cannot and will not protect them. Vulnerable mothers make vulnerable daughters. Ideally, maternal protection implants an internal source of security in a daughter, but it doesn't always work this way. The story of Dirty John may seem extreme, but it is not unique. Generations of women have sacrificed the well-being of their children while tending to male partners. We see this between Deborah Newell and her girls. She treats her daughters as decorations, wanting them at family gatherings, but irritated by their routine daily needs. Though she's unable to see or respect her daughter's feelings, she feels victimized when they can't respect hers. In an interview, real-life Deborah says, quote, I thought John was after me for my money, so I didn't feel that my kids should be in fear. Deborah's words show a willful disregard for her daughter's thoughts and feelings. She is blind to the danger she puts them in. Although Judeo-Christian theology calls us to, quote, honor thy father and mother, sometimes it's impossible and indeed unwise to honor thy mother.
I think that
Neuroscience.
even though like we want to honor our parents, I feel like sometimes it's best not to. Like the advice that they're giving us is not very good, it's not healthy, and I think that it's dangerous. And I think that is dangerous to tell people to always listen to your mom and dad. Like, yeah, there are times when you should listen to your mom and dad, but if you live in a toxic family dynamic and your mom and dad do not have your best interest at heart, it's probably not a good idea to listen to what they're saying, you know?
Mothers who don't protect their daughters fall into two categories: the mother who is too vulnerable and the mother who is threatening. In this chapter, we will discuss the first type, the vulnerable mother. We'll take a closer look at the impact of a threatening mother in Chapter 8, Third-Degree Mother Hunger. When a mother has unrepaired attachment injuries from her own upbringing, her capacity to soothe herself or her daughter is compromised. An emotionally fragile mother may have facial expressions that frighten her daughter or vocal tones that are hard to listen to. Easily distressed, a vulnerable mother can't tolerate it when her daughter has big emotions, particularly if they are negative emotions. Afraid that she has no solution, a vulnerable mother may push her daughter away to avoid feeling helpless. Neuroception, a term from Stephen Porges' polyvagal theory, is the brain's ability to distinguish the meaning of others' moods and behaviors and to pick up on and understand environmental cues. Neuroception helps us determine whether someone is safe or dangerous. An anxious mother who is routinely
I read a book by Dr. Henry Cloud called Safe People. It's one that I still have in my audiobooks. It was really helpful if you've never been taught how to distinguish between people who are safe and people who are unsafe. And safe just meaning like not toxic, you know, people who actually care about you, want to see you succeed, like how to determine. There's a lot of helpful information in that book. And I learned so much because I wasn't taught how to decipher like who's good and who's not. And because of that, I really chose um, a lot of toxic relationships, not just like romantic relationships, like friendships that were toxic as well. So I think that reading that book in addition to this book will really kind of help everything come together so that not only do you know how to determine like who has your best interest at heart, like how to see who's safe, and then going through this book as well. It's I think it's really helpful.
afraid may adversely impact her daughter's developing neuroception that is linking up with her
Yeah.
own. Daughters match or co-regulate with their mothers. In this way, anxiety between mothers and daughters is shared. Through the thousands of tiny gestures between a mother and infant, mothers communicate whether or not the world is safe. Adaptations to a mother's fear can inhibit a daughter's ability to play, learn, and feel comfortable making friends. Feeling anxious, she loses access to her inner wisdom and intuition. In the most extreme cases, a daughter may lose the ability to detect danger altogether.
Mm-hmm.
She will miss cues that signal that someone or something is a bad idea. When maternal neuroception is damaged, sometimes mothers and daughters end up in danger, as in the case of Dirty John, where Tara ultimately fights John for her life, and Cindy marries a man who kills her.
I'm gonna end up having to watch that
Damaged
show. I don't think
neuroception
I've ever seen
helps us
it.
understand how a tragedy like this can happen.
Dirty John.
Earned protection. Inside each adult woman who did not have early maternal protection is a frightened little girl. Usually her anxiety is firmly packed down under layers of defensiveness. I call this defensiveness earned protection. Earned protection manifests in many different ways. Some girls are fierce. They have rapid movements, forceful voices, and frequent demands. Displays of dominance alert others to back off and be careful. On the other end of the spectrum, some girls appear submissive or compliant, their posture bent or unsteady. They may rely on others to make decisions for them. If you meet a woman who has buried this type of mother hunger under fierce defenses, you might not know she's afraid. Externally, she might seem strong, but underneath a carefully crafted veneer, her frozen personality parts wait for attention. One part is a frightened little girl who longs for maternal protection. Another part is an angry teenager who had to figure things out by herself. Unaware of these parts, a woman who did not have early maternal protection may find herself attracted to powerful authority figures who have status and wealth, or she may work tirelessly and ferociously to build her own financial fortress. She is seeking the protection she didn't have as a child.
That's me.
Although a woman carrying this type of mother hunger can take care of herself, she is tired of doing it.
Yep, I sure
She
am.
longs for someone to take control and relieve her of responsibility.
Yes,
Someone
please.
to let her be the little girl she never got to be.
That's me.
Women who grow up without maternal protection are accustomed to high levels of fear and anxiety. If this is part of your story, you've been living with high levels of stress and self-management for a long time.
Don't you
Your
know?
endurance may be running thin. Because maternal protection was missing, you adapted very young, and part of you may still feel like a frightened girl at times. Loving isn't the same as protecting. Too often, hard to soothe infants are called difficult babies, and distressed toddlers get misguided.
I've seen Dirty John, like, I think on Netflix. I think that that's where you can watch it, but it honestly, it never interested me just by looking at the title. I don't think I ever read like what it was actually about, but now that she's talking about it, I think I might actually watch the series just to kind of get an idea of what she's talking about.
Labels like terrible twos. Little ones who cry are seen as manipulative or oppositional when they are simply communicating the only way they know how. Blaming young children for primitive emotions is a missed opportunity for attunement and connection. Relationally dependent babies and toddlers can't manufacture a feeling of safety by themselves. Just like a fragile tree that needs additional support when first planted in the ground, infants are supported by their primary caregiver. When a plant isn't thriving in the garden, we don't blame the plant. We test the soil, we monitor the sunlight, we adjust the water, we work to enhance the environment so the plant can thrive. But with children, sometimes we have this turned around. We expect a new baby to adapt to the environment, even if she's clearly not doing well in it. Instead of turning away or feeling persecuted, a tuned-in mother might ask herself, what does my baby need?
Mm-hmm.
And strive to soothe her little one. Protective mothers apply sunscreen, wash the vegetables, and call the doctor. And these are the easy tasks.
Right?
When we're frightened, our awareness changes. Our voice changes, and we stop smiling. The micro movements in our face get tight.
I didn't even know that you could go through a freeze, and I mean a fawning stage, which is different than fight or flight. It's basically when you're like frozen with fear. You're unable to do anything. And I've been in situations where I've been frozen with fear and unable to protect myself. And I think that, when you've experienced so much trauma, um, it's almost conditioned for you to freeze, and not only freeze, but you learn that by freezing and not really like pushing back, um and keeping quiet, that it kind of appeases the other person. Therefore, basically, you've been trained not to stand up for yourself. It's definitely taking me some time to actually, be courageous enough to stand up for myself and not allow people to like take advantage of me and just me not say anything at all.
Fear can cloud a mother's capacity to pay attention to her infant's cues or be present when her toddler is feeling afraid. Sarah Payton, author of Your Resonant Self, explains this phenomenon saying, quote, because fear takes people out of presence and into vigilance, it also moves them out of being able to pay attention to the nuances of what is happening for someone else. End of quote. What if that someone else is a baby?
Mm.
Most women I know keep the doors locked when we're home alone, have our keys ready as we walk to the car, and avoid parking garages after dark. It's scary living in a world where we are sexual prey. Frightened mothers can communicate that danger is near without language. Researchers at the University of California, San Francisco found that infants catch the psychological residue of their mother's anxiety and distress. As we discussed in the mirroring section in chapter 1, we know that by 4 months of age, a baby has already learned her mother's facial expressions. Babies regulate their nervous system in sync with their mother's. In this way, maternal distress can become infant distress. No safe haven. Generational and environmental adversity compromises a woman's ability to protect herself and any children she may have. In the words of Dr. Gabor Mate, quote, we are not talking about individual parental failure. We are talking about a broad social phenomenon. We live in a society that completely destroys the parenting environment. The social phenomenon that Mate refers to is the patriarchal water we're all swimming in that devalues our human vulnerabilities and need for one another. This social phenomenon damages maternal protection. When mothers struggle for safety, so do their children. Daughters of frightened mothers search for protection where there isn't any. Quote, when the immature stress response goes without nurturing protection from a stable adult, such adversity leads to psychological trauma. Mothers in danger are unable to buffer their little ones from toxic stress. Toxic stress activates the immature immune system and can alter genetic makeup, leading to lifelong challenges with mental and physical health. We are just now appreciating the magnitude and consequences of childhood adversity, thanks to widespread awareness of Vincent Feliti's landmark Adverse Childhood Experiences Study, also known as ACEs study, published in 1998 by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention and Kaiser Permanente. The original study of ACEs specified 10 categories of stressful or traumatic childhood events, but the list has now been expanded to include many more. Forms of childhood adversity include racism, parental incarceration, acrimonious parental separations, having an addicted parent, living in foster care, and witnessing a mother being threatened. With over 17,000 participants, the study shows us that the sustained stress during childhood causes biochemical changes in the body and brain, drastically increasing the risk of future mental illness and health problems, including substance abuse. Interestingly, and not as commonly known, Dr. Vincent Felitti first discovered the link between childhood adversity, specifically sexual abuse, and adult mental health problems accidentally. A patient participating in his highly acclaimed weight loss program revealed her childhood trauma during an interview, sparking a powerful moment for Dr. Felitti, who had never before asked about childhood abuse while treating patients for weight loss. When asked why he never made this connection, he replied that he was a medical doctor, not a therapist. What a powerful example of how and why medical training should include trauma awareness education. The ACEs study shows a common denominator in each measure of adversity: lack of protection. Children without a protective caregiver suffer more than children who have one. Dr. Robert Block, former president of the American Academy of Pediatrics, is often quoted saying, quote, "ACEs are the single greatest unaddressed public health threat facing our nation today." Growing awareness of ACEs and their consequences reveal how much children need the protective presence of a consistent caregiver. Research shows that if a trusted adult soothes a child during adversity, the impact of distress is less damaging, and the event may not become an ACE. One pediatrician is taking this very seriously. Dr. Nadine Burke Harris, the first Surgeon General of California and author of The Deepest Well, is connecting the dots between childhood illnesses and toxic stress and making changes to medical procedures that could further traumatize vulnerable children. In her widely viewed TED Talk, Dr. Burke Harris says, quote, "The single most important thing that we need today is the courage to look this problem in the face and say, this is real," end of quote. Childhood trauma isn't something you just get over as you grow up.
No, it
To
isn't.
find out more information about ACEs, please see the supplemental PDF. Protection in the first 3 years. The most accurate predictor of a securely attached child is protective, sensitive caregiving during the first 3 years. In preparation for birth, women need support and awareness to optimize relaxation and avoid unnecessary distress. In the early months of a newborn's life, biological processes are profoundly impacted by safety or lack of safety. At about 6 weeks gestation, the placenta connects mother to daughter. When a mother experiences fear, the cortisol released in her bloodstream crosses unfiltered to her baby.
Isn't that
In
interesting?
this way, anxiety may first be experienced in utero. If you're reading this sentence with a aha feeling, perhaps anxiety that has been with you for a long time is making new sense. Newborn bodies and brains have not adjusted to relatively modern parenting arrangements that separate babies from their mothers for a long workday, a vacation, 10 hours of sleep, or even a medical emergency. Such separations would have been unheard of for our ancestors who lived closer to the earth. And if you were born and raised during a time when experts encouraged the cry it out method, it's safe to say you adapted to fear very early.
Isn't that sad?
In the Nurturance chapter, we talked about how risky mother-infant separation is for attachment success. It bears repeating again in this chapter. Separation is scary for infants and hard on mothers for a reason: survival. A mother who must leave her little one knows on some level that this may adversely impact her child, so she may struggle to focus or work or enjoy time away. Quote, "Secure attachment makes separation less painful for children, but separation causes a child pain even when that child has an emotionally present mother," end of quote. Dr. Komisar writing. I love her emphasis on the pain that children feel when mom goes away, even if they are securely attached. Komisar normalizes the primacy of the first relationship we all have in life. Studies show that children under the age of 3 who are in daycare have higher levels of cortisol in their saliva than children at home with familiar care.
Wow.
These studies reveal that as many as 63% of kids in daycare have raised cortisol levels, which is associated with delayed development and immature brains in 4 species of mammals: cattle, sheep, rats, and monkeys. High levels of cortisol have been associated with brain changes that lead to continuing elevated stress response. While little ones benefit from socialization in daycare and preschool, they aren't psychologically or emotionally equipped for peer interactions until they are 2 years old. Peer play goes more smoothly when early attachment needs have been met. Attachment must precede socialization, not the other way around. As a mother and a clinician, I'm not surprised by Komisar's findings about ADHD and other behavior problems. Quote, I have seen society increasingly devalue mothering while idealizing work. At the same time, I've seen an epidemic of troubled children who are being diagnosed and medicated earlier and earlier with ADHD, early aggression, and other behavioral and social disorders. Many people say these two phenomena are utterly unrelated. I believe they are connected.
I believe so too.
Little ones depend on their relationship with their mother to soothe anxiety and stress that comes with new experiences. The security of this relationship is the basis for attachment and feelings of safety. Secure attachment happens gradually as trust grows in connection with predictable, warm care. If you didn't have a sense of safety growing up, the separation anxiety that is evident in little ones might still be with you. You might feel a deep uneasiness when you are alone or when someone leaves. Many argue that encouraging mothers and infants to stay in close connection for the first 1,000 days is somehow anti-feminist. But this couldn't be further from the truth. Feminism is about expanding choices for women. Having more choices comes with more responsibility. The choices we make have rewards and consequences. We make better decisions and choices when we have comprehensive information. Many women would make different choices about mothering if infant care experts and authorities were providing holistic information and supporting maternal instincts. Perhaps if policies promoted secure attachment by allowing longer parental leave, the importance of the early moments and months would gain universal respect. In the first 3 years, encouraging dependency is an emotional investment in future independence and health. But when mothers miss this chance early on, many find themselves bewildered when their previously compliant 2-year-old becomes an angry, withdrawn adolescent. Little ones who learn early to rely on themselves for comfort and safety become guarded teenagers who are hard to reach. Alpha. Gordon Neufeld, a Vancouver-based clinical psychologist and co-author of the book Hold On to Your Kids, encourages women to access their inner alpha when they become mothers. He describes an alpha mother as a woman who knows her strength and primacy in her baby's world. An alpha mother claims her place as her child's protector. Neufeld asserts that anyone can provide this fierce care because vulnerable babies are so
I
compelling
think so too.
and elicit our desire to protect them. While this is an interesting point, it oversimplifies a complex issue. Some mothers may easily step into the protective maternal role, but just as often, the intergenerational legacy of adversity, fear, and submission cripples a woman's protective instincts, overriding her conscious capacity to keep herself or her baby safe. She isn't purposefully causing harm, but toxic stress damages the neurocircuitry from maternal behaviors. In fact, mothers who suffer from postpartum depression have very high cortisol levels in response to their baby's cries, which is like a PTSD response.
Wow.
In other words, protection seems natural, but regardless of how cute or compelling a baby might be, many frightened women simply don't have the internal resources for protection. Some compensate with overprotective measures while others are underprotective. Either way, without healthy maternal protection, the daughter may grow up missing a felt sense of safety. Hello, mothers. To protect vulnerable babies in the first 3 years, mothers may need to rely on caregivers known as allomothers. An allomother may be biologically related or not, but is emotionally invested in the well-being of the child. Fathers, grandparents, sisters, aunts, and nannies can be allomothers. Historically, allomothers helped the biological mother not because she was away, but because they were invested in her well-being and her infants. Allomothers held and played with the baby while mom took a bath, had something to eat, or helped out other children. In our fast-paced modern world, an allomother may not be a family member. She or he might be a nanny. For an allomother to successfully take over maternal tasks, he or she earns a place in the family. If an allomother is spending more time with the little one than mom, the role of favorite might transfer in service of attachment processes. Secure attachment forms inside daily interactions with the primary caregiver, mother, or allomother. Naturally, a mother may experience feelings of sadness as she surrenders her child to an alternative caregiver, but the loss is in service of the health and well-being of her little one, who deserves a secure base. In this way, maternal sacrifice is protective. This is particularly true when working outside the home is essential. Some studies show that financial stress can negatively impact mothering. So when a mother works to ease financial burdens, the overall result can positively impact her children, especially with support from a reliable allomother. However, Comisar explains that children of, quote, two-parent, working middle class and upper middle class families do less well in terms of their mental health when both parents work. They feel their parents' detachment and interpret it as rejection. End of quote. If an allomother isn't an option, and a mother must rely on daycare when she is away for long periods of time, she may need to spend more time settling an anxious baby or child who has missed her all day. Protective mothers help their little ones with separation anxiety by making up for lost togetherness in nourishing ways. Putting away phones and playing right when getting home helps reestablish connection and trust after hours of being apart. One of the most powerful protective measures to counteract lengthy hours apart is shared sleep. Physical proximity at night promotes sensory connectedness, allowing sleep hours to fortify the baby's immature immune system and developing neurological health. I realize that nighttime sleep is a controversial issue, which is unfortunate. Sleep time shouldn't be stressful for little ones. Like meal times, it's a chance for connection, warmth, and safety. Sharing nighttime hours fortifies the attachment process and will serve the little one as she matures. In this way, a shared sleep space is maternal protection in action. For more information, listen to the nighttime parenting section in Chapter 3. Protecting growing girls. As little girls grow, their needs for external protection do too. Just like adults, girls do better at work or play when someone has their back. Girls need a safe haven to return to after a day at school or time with friends, a place where they can make mistakes without punishment, learn boundaries without fear, and relax from the external pressures of growing up. Daughters do best when mothers create a secure environment with age-appropriate boundaries. With maternal protection, girls can tolerate a variety of stressors that come their way. A mother's job as protector requires superpowers as her daughter grows and moves into mainstream culture. The world seems determined to steal her innocence. Sexual messages that exploit and objectify her flood the media and enter the privacy of our homes. In 1994, Mary Pfeiffer's book Reviving Ophelia took the world by storm, enlightening parents about the risks facing their daughters. Over 2 decades later, new authors are still writing the same things about girls and stress. In spite of our efforts to empower girls and help them navigate our world, not much has changed. In the book Under Pressure, Lisa D'Amour takes a close look at the rising number of girls who struggle with anxiety and mood problems. The number of girls who feel nervous, worried, or fearful jumped by 55% from 2009 to 2014. And the percentage of girls experiencing depression rose from 13% to 17%.
Wow.
According to
I hope
D'Amour's
you feel
research,
better.
this increase is not because we are better at detecting these problems than we used to be. It's because we are seeing something new. The digital world has added new stress and anxiety for girls and their mothers. When girls lack maternal protection, their adaptations to fear become more noticeable as they reach school age. Ongoing fear creates symptoms of traumatic stress. Jamie Howard, clinical psychologist at the Anxiety Disorder Center at the Child Mind Institute in New York City, encourages teachers to look for signs of trauma in their students. She states, quote, "Kids that may seem like they have ADHD because they're really spacey may actually be distracted by trauma that's happening. And then kids who are avoidant of certain things or who have an exaggerated startle response might look oppositional." End of quote. Often, unprotected children appear overly energetic or daydreamy, dissociated, while they are at school or daycare. Hyperactivity or being tuned out is simply a way of regulating a frightened brain. Signs of missing maternal protection might look like the following: learning difficulties or concentration problems, spacing out, anxiety and excessive need to please, perfectionism, coordination problems and compromised posture, bursts of rage or tears, stomach aches, digestive issues, and headaches. A brain and body accustomed to distress is more easily triggered by things that happen during or after a long day at school. Emotional outbursts are common for all children trying to regulate their developing nervous systems, but for a child already stressed, fatigue or hunger can quickly escalate into rage or despair. Researchers call this phenomenon kindling. Kindling explains how a child or adult can seem fine one minute and outraged or fearful the next. She's highly sensitive because her nervous system is on alert. As little girls approach adolescence, personality adaptations may turn into mood disturbances that include eating problems, difficulty sleeping, and painful menstruation. Girls and sex. Misogyny explains self-hate and body hate. The sexual alarm system explains sexual fear. Mix these two powerful forces together, and we have a potent cocktail that damages sexual development for women. I've been writing about female sexuality for well over a decade, and I'm saddened by how little has changed in those years. Although girls have more opportunity for independence, they still struggle with feeling safe, with body image, and with relationships. Sex education hasn't changed much, except for the unfortunate reality that porn, as we know, is a new teacher.
Mm.
On the digital street corner, girls are learning that danger and sex go together, that strangulation is part of foreplay, that being hot is everything. Hotness as a virtue shows up when female role models demonstrate sexual empowerment by crotch grabbing, pole dancing, and gestures that seem to exhibit dominance rather than freedom. In Peggy Ornstein's excellent book, Girls and Sex, she draws on interviews with adolescents to take a look at the modern sexual forces facing our daughters. Ornstein explores the contradiction for girls who have more opportunities in education but still deal with dehumanizing sexual pressures. She shares a comment from an interview with one girl who says, "Usually, the opposite of negative is a positive. But when you're talking about girls and sex, the opposite of slut is prude, both of which are negative. So what are you supposed to do?" Ornstein explores the same sexual double bind that I wrote about in my first book, Ready to Heal. A double bind is an impossible situation where all the choices lead to negative outcomes. I found 4 distinct beliefs that emerge for women from this double bind. 1, if I'm sexual, I'm bad. 2, I must be good to be worthy of love. 3, I'm not really a woman unless someone desires me sexually or romantically. And 4, I must be sexual to be lovable. These beliefs teach us that to be loved, we must be sexy. But if we're too sexy, we're bad. Only good girls are lovable, but if you want love, you must be sexually desirable. These 4 beliefs
So
create
confusing.
a psychological impasse that freezes healthy sexual development and sets the stage for love and sex to become painful or addictive habits rather than expressions of joy and pleasure. In fact, as Ornstein eloquently explains in her TED Talk, girls don't generally consider their own sexual pleasure as a priority. If the partner has an orgasm, that's good enough. Despite progress for girls in some areas,
I'm teaching my daughter to make sure she gets hers too.
sexist double standards seem to stick with us for both
Even if
mothers
you got to do it
and
yourself.
daughters. Protection and female sexuality. Mothers often land on extreme ends of the sexual protective spectrum, either overprotective or underprotective. Overprotective mothers teach their daughters to be afraid of boys and sex. Abstinence and avoidance are their protection strategies. Underprotective mothers turn the other way when their daughters need help. Underprotective mothers don't set curfews or limit exposure to technology. They may sacrifice their daughters to fathers, brothers, and uncles. What is the balance? What is the recipe for raising sexually healthy girls? I'm not sure there is one. The same patriarchal culture that poisons female sexual development trains us to defer to authority for educating our daughters. Mothers hope that churches or schools can teach daughters about sex and safety, but this form of educating isn't going well. Quote, the way we educate young people about sexuality is not working. We expect them to dismiss their instinctive desires and curiosities, even as we bombard them with images that imply that lust is the most important appetite and hotness the most impressive virtue, writes Ariel Levy. When men become fathers, their unexamined beliefs about women, gender, and sexuality may not help. In overt and covert ways, fathers may perpetuate female objectification and victimization. Sometimes their own lust leaks out as a daughter enters puberty and her body changes. Fathers may comment on these changes in ways that leave a daughter feeling icky or confused. Fathers who fail to protect their daughters might demonstrate inappropriate behaviors like commenting on the appearance of a waitress or comparing a daughter's body to her mother's body, teaching by example that women are objects. In a recent research experiment, a mom spent 7 days online pretending to be an 11-year-old girl. She uploaded a generic photo with a caption reading, quote, "V excited to see my friends this weekend at Carly's party, LLYSM," end of quote. Within minutes after posting the material, this pseudo 11-year-old had 7 video calls, text chats with 17 men, and seen the genitals of 11 of those men. Sloan Ryan, who runs the special projects team at Bark, a tech company committed to child safety, reports that in 2018, Bark alerted the FBI to 99 child predators, and in 2019, the number is more than 300 and growing. Ryan illustrates how predators talk. Quote, "You're so pretty. You should be a model. I'm older than you. What would you do if you were here, baby? Would you sex act if you were here? Have you seen one before, baby? Baby, you're so beautiful. Talk to me, baby. I want you to sex act, baby. Just get on video chat, baby. Don't be shy, baby." To put it very simply, unprotected access to the open internet isn't safe for children. While internet access offers learning opportunities, it's also an added burden for mothers who strive to protect their daughters from predators and harmful sexual content. It's a fast-growing monster. When I work with parents who are overwhelmed with this issue, I keep it simple. Think of unmonitored internet as cocaine. While this might sound extreme, it gets the point across. The internet is addictive and dangerous. Kids need supervision and limits with electronic devices. Siblings and protection. When daughters who are still little girls are put in a position to care for their siblings, they find themselves face to face.
I'm sorry you're not feeling good, Kathleen. I hope you get better soon.
With adult responsibilities.
Thank you for joining, even though you're not feeling good.
Choose. When Janet was a little girl, her mother was very ill. It was Janet's job to care for her older brother and father. She was only 6 when she learned to make the beds, prepare meals, mostly tuna sandwiches,
I like
and
tuna
clean the
sandwiches.
house. As an adult, Janet hates to cook and can't stand the smell of tuna.
Oh.
She rarely leaves her house. Janet's story might seem extreme, but it's not uncommon for a mother to use her daughter as a babysitter or a housekeeper. While helping out the family can create a sense of belonging for a daughter, when the job is too much and too lonely, caretaking becomes frightening. The responsibility is too big. Furthermore, when a child is burdened with too much of her mother's work, siblings are robbed of the chance to be siblings. One becomes the caretaker, carrying the load of responsibility, while the younger siblings feel controlled, jealous, or victimized. My client Rose was an only child until her parents divorced and her mother started dating a musician who had a baby. Rose was 9 years old when she found herself in charge of a little stepsister. Her mother was distracted with new friends and nightly events. She left Rose alone with the baby a lot. Rose was overwhelmed by the responsibility and the lonely nights at home without her mother. Quote, sometimes the baby would cry and nothing seemed to help. I called my mom, but she just told me to let her cry. It was so awful listening to that little baby cry. Understandably, Rose grew up tired, resentful, and worried that she didn't like babies or children. She delayed having a family, convinced that she would be a terrible mother. After a few years of treatment, however, she changed her mind. Healing the pain of maternal neglect helped her reclaim her lost youth and make a more conscious decision about motherhood. The mother hunger spectrum. The adversity children face doesn't have to be severe to create deep physiological and psychological changes that can lead to mother hunger. The severity of mother hunger is unique to each daughter, and the intensity of adaptations depends on the degree of missing maternal protection and the availability of alternate safe adults. In adolescence and adulthood, adaptations might look like constant low-grade depression or chronic anxiety. Attention problems, hyperactivity, and perfectionism are also evidence of mother hunger. So are addictive habits. Addictions are a form of self-soothing and a resourceful way to avoid pain. If you didn't have adequate maternal protection, hopefully the anxiety and stress you live with makes more sense now. Protecting yourself for so many years takes a toll. Living with fear and anxiety wears down your immune system, leaving you vulnerable to physical symptoms like migraines, joint pain, bowel disorders, painful PMS, or autoimmune problems. You might be attracted to powerful people who are manipulative and perhaps dangerous. You might have addictions or compulsions. Some things are just too hard to know until change is actually possible. Understanding how your symptoms are related to missing maternal protection may reduce your shame. Healing flows more easily without the added burden of shame, which is why if you struggle with an addiction, addressing addictive behaviors is a powerful step in the right direction. Addiction always leads to shame, and shame interferes with the legitimate hurt that needs your care. Many of you are tired. You've been trying to protect yourself for years, and you're drained from working too much or too hard, from overeating and undereating, or from loving in destructive ways. Addiction may begin as a way to appease a mother and adapt to her vulnerability. The addictive behavior begins with the innocent hope that if I can simply do the right thing, say the right thing, be the right thing, she will protect and love me. I can calm down. Dr. Gabor Mate states that, quote, at the core of every addiction is an emptiness based in abject fear. Addiction, then, is an attempt to regulate fear and despair. Fear of being unlovable or alone. Fear that grows without a fundamental sense of safety. Here are some common examples. 1. Love addiction. Earning maternal love unconsciously with romantic partners. Love addiction may include an insatiable craving for physical touch. Sometimes this can lead to sexual addiction. 2. Eating patterns. Earning a mother's approval by looking a certain way that required food restriction. Sometimes overeating is a way to show anger toward a controlling mother. 3. Working too much. Compulsive busyness might have gained a mother's approval as a child. As an adult, it might offer you the feeling of safety and control you craved as a child. 4. Exercising too much. Working out to the point of injury and yet being unable to rest is a sign of feeling unsafe. Do any of these addictive tendencies resonate for you? Uncovering fear. Recall a time you felt safe as a little girl. What was happening? Who was there? How do you recreate the sensation of safety in your life today? Recall a frightening moment from your past. What was happening? Who was there? Where was your mother? Do you recreate fear in your current life? Anxiety rescue. When anxiety gets intense, try this quick, age-old intervention. Alternate nostril breathing, which is part of some hatha yoga practices, is a very helpful exercise when you wake up feeling anxious or have difficulty falling asleep. You can even use it when you're stuck in traffic. Alternate nostril breathing helps relax your body and mind, reduces nervous system activity, and brings an overall sense of well-being. Science suggests that you stimulate both sides of the brain, and ancient wisdom believes that you gain energetic balance in alternate nostril breathing. To start, close one nostril and breathe in through the other to the count of 5. Close both nostrils for the count of 5. Then exhale from the other nostril to the count of 5. Repeat for a few rounds until you found relief. Practicing alternate nostril breathing can intervene in a panic attack and may also help you become more focused and aware. If you enjoy the effects of breathing this way, regular practice may help you become more mindful and enhance your healing. Replacing maternal protection. Dreams are windows into the soul, and without fail,
You all have
women
been
who suffer a
screaming.
lack of maternal protection have nightmarish sleep patterns and dreams. In my years of clinical practice, I've noticed a theme to these dreams. Women who didn't feel safe as little girls dream of homes that are flooding, burning, or infested with rodents. Inside the house, They are trapped and alone. There's no comfort. As treatment progresses, however, these dreams change. I know healing is happening when the rodents are gone, when hallways lead to magical rooms that weren't there before, when outside flowers are growing. The home, which is a metaphor for the body, is blooming. From years of practice, I'm confident that you can begin healing your brain with visualization and mindful intention. Start when you are comfortable and somewhere safe, maybe right before going to sleep at night. Close your eyes. Picture the home that you see when you dream at night. How does it feel to be inside? What does it look like? What do you need inside this home and outside this home to feel safe and cozy? Open your eyes. Now, you can take a look at pictures of beautiful homes in print magazines or on the internet. Focus on images that make your heart happy. When you feel your spirit lift, bask in the sensation. Beauty is good for your brain. You are building a dream home that will become your safe place. A place that will soothe the fear that's been with you for so long. Take your time. Get creative with this exercise by bookmarking images or posting them around your space. You are curating an inner sanctuary where there is no threat. When you prepare for sleep each night, wander through these images in your mind. Close your eyes, cover yourself in a heavy blanket, and let your mind imagine what it will be like to live in this place you've designed. This conscious nightly ritual directly influences your inner home. As the landscape of your mind improves, so will the quality of your sleep and mood throughout the following day. Chapter 7.
Okay, we're gonna stop here. And we'll start chapter 7 tomorrow. Yeah, the crappy thing is if you want Kindle, you have to download, so you have to download Kindle, right? And then you have to pay for everything individually. So like, well, I'm sorry, on Audible you pay for everything individually because you get, I think Audible is $12.99 a month and you get one free credit per month. That means that's like one book per month for free. But you can also buy credits at a lower cost with your membership. So they do offer slight discounts if you have Audible. But with Kindle is the same thing. You have to have a subscription in order to download books. That with Kindle, they have, if you have Kindle Unlimited, there's a bunch of books that you can choose from in Kindle Unlimited that you don't have to pay extra for. It's included with the Kindle Unlimited. So I do find that if you are a good enough, like if you're a reader and you like visibly reading the book yourself, Kindle Unlimited is going to be your better option because you're going to have access to so many more books at a lower cost. With Audible, you're paying per book that you want to listen to, whether you're buying 3 credits at a time at a lower cost, or you're buying one book at a time with, the $12.99 or whatever. So what I had done before I had gotten Audible was I was doing Kindle Unlimited, but I realized that I wasn't able to read as much as I wanted to because I was so busy working. And that's when I switched over to Audible, because with Audible, I'd be able to put my headphones on while I'm working and actually listen to the book that I read. Whereas with Kindle, I just didn't have time to sit down and actually read the book anymore. So I still have a lot of books, even in my Kindle Unlimited, that I haven't read because I just haven't had the time. Um, but with my Audible, because I had all of those credits like built up months and months and months, I have a library of books, not only books that I purchased, but books that I used my credits for. And I mean, I've got like 52 books just in my Audible collection. And in my Kindle collection, I've got like 15, 25 books. So between my Kindle and my Audible, I've got, almost 100 books. So we've got a lot of books to read, but I'd like to stick with the same topic, either true crime or mother-daughter narcissistic dynamics. And I do have Imperfect Justice, Prosecuting Casey Anthony. I've had that book for a very long time and I have not read all of it. So that might be a good book for us to read. I also have the power of action, do it now. And this is like a self-help book. So that's kind of the theme of a lot of the books that I have. They're either self-help or they're really about education, because I enjoy learning as much as I possibly can. I didn't finish high school, and I'm self-conscious about that because I feel like I don't have the same amount of education as everyone else. So sometimes in situations where I'm around people who maybe are college educated, I might feel like I don't have anything in common with them. But because I spend so much time reading and educating myself, I can have conversations with anyone because I do have the capacity to retain information when I'm reading. So I do steer clear of politics and religion. I do have a few books on witchcraft and astrology and that sort of thing, but I really do steer clear from religion and politics because I feel like everybody's religious beliefs are different, and I'm not judging anyone for their religious beliefs, but I also don't want to indoctrinate myself with that information, as well as the information of like politics. So, because it can be really easy to read content and that sort of thing, and then it be like embedded into your mind, and then it can alter the way that you think. So I'm really careful about the content that I listen to, the content that I watch. I don't even listen to music anymore because music is so damaging. Thank you, Welsh. Music is so damaging to your subconscious mind, and then you're kind of really subjected to programming that you don't even know is happening, because you get into that alpha brainwave state, like when you're watching a movie or when you're listening to somebody, talk about politics or religion or whatever, and then that starts to program you to believe certain things. So I really try to stay away from anything that I feel like might program my mind to believe things that I don't want to believe. I don't think so, Linda. I don't think it's free. I don't think you get Audible and Kindle free unless they're doing some sort of like a one-time promo right now, and if that's the case, that's awesome. But I've had my Audible for, I don't know, 2 years, so like I'm paying for everything. I've got mine on pause right now because I knew that there weren't any new books that I wanted to read, so I have mine on pause. I'm so sorry. I know how tough it is out there financially for everyone. I keep telling my kids like don't be in a rush to move out. Like it's expensive out there to live on your own. Do you have any other support, Linda? It's only me paying for everything here in my house. My son pays a couple of bills, but um like the majority of everything is on me and has been on me for the better part of 20 years. So I'm pretty tired. I'm ready to have a break and have the universe just provide everything for me. That'd be so nice. It'd be so nice. So nice. All right, you guys. Well, I am going to go because I need to get in the shower. I have a long day tomorrow. Um, I have my massage at 4:45, so by the time I get home, it'll be like a little after 6. So I probably won't start tomorrow right at 7. I might push back to 7:30 since I have my massage at 4:45 just to give myself enough time to do all the things that I need to do after I get home from my massage, like walk my dog, make sure he eats, make sure that my kids have something to eat for dinner, that sort of thing. So I think we'll start tomorrow at 7:30. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Y'all have a wonderful night.